So Jacob went on his journey and came to the land of the people of the east. Then it came to pass, when Laban heard the report about Jacob, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him, and embraced him and kissed him, and brought him to his house. So he told Laban all these things. And Laban said to him,
"Surely you are my bone and my flesh."
And he stayed with him for a month. Then Laban said to Jacob,
"Because you are my relative, should you therefore serve me for nothing? Tell me, what should your wages be?"
Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah's eyes were delicate, but Rachel was beautiful of form and appearance. Now Jacob loved Rachel, so he said,
"I will serve you 7 years for Rachel, your younger daughter."
It is better that I give her to you than that I should give her to another man. Stay with me.
So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed only a few days to him because of the love he had for her. Then Jacob said to Laban,
"Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go into her."
And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. Now it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah his daughter and brought her to Jacob, and he went into her. And Laban gave his maid Zilpah to his daughter Leah as a maid. So it came to pass in the morning that, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban,
"What is this you have done to me? Was it not for Rachel that I served you? Why then have you deceived me?"
It must not be done so in our country, to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill her week, and we will give you this one also for the service which you will serve with me still another 7 years.
Then Jacob did so, and fulfilled her week. So he gave him his daughter Rachel as wife also. And Laban gave his maid Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as a maid. Then Jacob also went in to Rachel, and he also loved Rachel more than Leah. And he served with Laban still another 7 years. When the Lord saw that Leah was unloved, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. So Leah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said,
"The Lord has surely looked on my affliction. Now, therefore, my husband will love me."
Then she conceived again and bore a son.
Because the Lord has heard that I am unloved, he has therefore given me this son also.
And she called his name Simeon. She conceived again and bore a son.
Now this time my husband will become attached to me, because I have borne him 3 sons.
Therefore his name was called Levi. And she conceived again and bore a son.
Now I will praise the Lord.
Therefore she called his name Judah. Then she stopped bearing. Now when Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister and said to Jacob,
"Give me children, or else I die."
And Jacob's anger was aroused against Rachel.
Am I in the place of God, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb?
Here's my maid, Bilhah. Go into her, and she will bear a child on my knees, that I also may have children by her."
Then she gave him Bilhah, her maid, as wife, and Jacob went into her. And Bilhah conceived, and bore Jacob a son. Then Rachel said,
God has judged my case, and he has also heard my voice and given me a son.
Therefore she called his name Dan. And Rachel's maid Bilhah conceived again, and bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said,
With great wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister, and indeed I have prevailed.
So she called his name Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had stopped bearing, she took Zilpah her maid and gave her to Jacob as wife. And Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said,
A troop comes.
So she called his name Gad. And Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a second son.
I am happy, for the daughters will call me blessed.
So she called his name Asher. Now Jacob heard the words of Laban's sons.
Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and from what was our father's he has acquired all this wealth.
And Jacob saw the countenance of Laban, and indeed it was not favorable toward him as before. Then the Lord said to Jacob,
Return to the land of your fathers and to your family, and I will be with you.
Then Jacob rose and set his sons and his wives on camels. And he carried away all his livestock and all his possessions which he had gained, his acquired livestock which he had gained in Padan Aram, to go to his father Isaac in the land of Canaan. And Laban was told on the third day that Jacob had fled. Then he took his brethren with him and pursued him for 7 days' journey. And he overtook him in the mountains of Gilead. But God had come to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night, and said to him,
Be careful that you speak to Jacob neither good nor bad.
These daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and this flock is my flock. All that you see is mine. What can I do this day to these my daughters, or to their children whom they have borne? Now therefore come, let us make a covenant, you and I, and let it be a witness between you and me.
So Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he said,
This is God's camp.
And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. Then Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them,
Speak thus to my lord Esau. Thus your servant Jacob says, I have dwelt with Laban and stayed there until now. I have oxen, donkeys, flocks, and male and female servants, and I have sent to tell my lord, that I may find favor in your sight.
Then the messengers returned to Jacob.
We came to your brother Esau, and he also is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him.
So Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed. And he divided the people that were with him, and the flocks and herds and camels, into 2 companies.
If Esau comes to the one company and attacks it, then the other company which is left will escape. O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, the Lord who said to me, Return to your country and to your family, and I will deal well with you. I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which you have shown your servant. For I crossed over this Jordan with my staff, and now I have become 2 companies. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and attack me. The mother with the children, for you said, I will surely treat you well, and make your descendants as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude.
So he lodged there that same night, and took what came to his hand as a present for Esau his brother. And he arose that night, and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed over the ford of Jabbok. He took them, sent them over the brook, and sent over what he had. Then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of day. Now when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint, as he wrestled with him. And he said,
"Let me go, for the day breaks."
I will not let you go unless you bless me.
What is your name?
Jacob!
Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel. For you have struggled with God and with men, and have prevailed.
Just as he crossed over Penuel, the sun rose on him, and he limped on his hip. Therefore, to this day, the children of Israel do not eat the muscle that shrank, which is on the hip socket, because he touched the socket of Jacob's hip in the muscle that shrank. Now Jacob lifted his eyes and looked, and there Esau was coming, and with him were 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 maidservants. And he put the maidservants and their children in front, Leah and her children behind, and Rachel and Joseph last. Then he crossed over before them, and bowed himself to the ground 7 times, until he came near to his brother. But Esau ran to meet him, and embraced him, and fell on his neck, and kissed him, and they wept. And he lifted his eyes, and saw the women and children.
"What do you mean by all this company which I met?"
These are to find favor in the sight of my lord.
"I have enough, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself."
No, please. If I have now found favor in your sight, then receive my present from my hand, inasmuch as I have seen your face as though I had seen the face of God, and you were pleased with me. Please, take my blessing that is brought to you, because God has dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough.
Then Jacob came safely to the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Padam Aram. And he pitched his tent before the city. And he bought the parcel of land where he had pitched his tent from the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. Then he erected an altar there, and called it El Elohe Israel.